though and wonder what day it is? It's like.
Do you need help, Marcia? Because
Is that weird? I woke up today.
Every day?
No, just today.
Oh, just today?
And I said, is it Sunday? I said, no. I said, is it Sunday? And I'm like, no. All right.
Those are the things that
Okay, here we go.
they're not. Well, now is this the crowd you envisioned for tonight?
No.
Good. Yeah. I do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Glenn? Janine? Oh, it's like I couldn't see you in your chair over there. Okay. Okay, welcome everybody to the 6 p.m. City Council meeting for August 6, 2024. All council members are present. At this time, we'll ask Vice Chair White to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please rise if you are able. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we will, if you'll please join me in observing a moment of silence. Thank you. Any acknowledgements from the council?
I have a couple. Sorry, I haven't been here in a while, so, you know, I have to make up for it.
Lay 'em on us.
Well, first of all, just to the mayor's point, during the work session, we wanted to congratulate the Ogden School District and Ogden Weaver Technical College on the brand new school ribbon cutting today that's on the Tech College campus, but high school students will be able to attend there and then go and attend other classes at the Tech College at the same time without traveling. So that's really cool. I was able to go to that. And then also, I just wanted to thank the staff and administration so much for helping with Pride this weekend. It was a really wonderful celebration. I was there Saturday night and then also Sunday. And even though it was so darn hot and humid, it was a really wonderful event, and it was really great. So thanks so much for helping to make that happen.
Thank you. Okay. All right. First up on the agenda, we have the public hearing on the 2024-2025 budget, and here to address us on that is the Executive Director of the Council, Janine Eller-Smith.
Thank you, Chair Ritchie. Thank you. I'm here to talk specifically about proposed increases for municipal executive officers. Okay, let's see. Maybe I'm not. So the reason we're here, this is new in 2024 legislative session. The legislature passed SB 91, and the statute requires that the municipal governing body, that's the city council, provide notice of and hold a meeting on the proposed increases for municipal executive officers. Per the law, this hearing must be held separately from any other hearings, and so that's why it's on the agenda like it is, even though it's related to the budget. We've posted it separately on the agenda. There's no action required at this point, just a public hearing, so to allow public comment on the proposals. And your action will actually occur during that final budget consideration. So what are municipal executive officers? So the statute defines those as the chief administrative officer and any assistants, city attorney and any deputies, the department heads and any deputies, division manager and any deputies, and the chiefs and any deputy or assistant chiefs. So the list is different. That's the list on the left. The list on the right are other statutory positions that the city is required to have. Some of those may or may not be department heads or division managers, but I just wanted to point out that difference. So the reason there is a proposal, and I'm going to provide just a little bit of more background on how the administration came to propose these increases for all city employees, not just for the municipal officers. And by the way, I should say the municipal officers does not include elected officials, make that clear. Mr. Symes will be providing specific dollar amounts that will be associated with the overall increases for the city and the personnel costs, but I'd just like to review the why. So last fall, the city hired an outside consultant to complete a classification and compensation study to evaluate the structures and competitiveness of the city's pay plan. McGrath specializes in public sector consulting, and that's one of the reasons why they were chosen. The consultant spent the next 9 months evaluating the city's current salary schedules, job descriptions, and basic philosophy regarding employee compensation. And they gathered market data from 24 comparable organizations and then provided recommendations based on those findings. This is the list of the comparable agencies that they identified. We have a lot of cities, and then also special districts, water districts primarily, and then fire districts. And that's because of the specialized work that fire and police and our utilities do. Results of that study with the recommendations, and this is just the highlights. The recommendation was to align with the average market of comparables, and the consultants indicated that that's necessary to maintain a competitive edge in this tight work market. To align titles for upper management, so there's some proposals for title changes. And then they suggest that the city annually adjust the salary schedules by a CPI urban index, and then budget for allowable flexibility within job classifications. So, you know, if they need to pay a little bit more to keep an employee from leaving, that might be a possibility. And then adopt a proposed FY 2025 range model, which included a minimum of 4% increase for all employees. So this is the current and the new range comparisons for the executive officers. So that you can see the current pay ranges, the low and the high, any title changes that are proposed, and then the new pay ranges that are scheduled. So I did not go through and calculate person by person what every officer would get, but I can say with fairly certainty that most will be receiving that 4% increase that all other employees will receive. It could be higher than that if they are, say, at the bottom lower range or at the bottom of their current range, and they're moving to the bottom of the new range, then it could be higher than 4% because the recommendation is for a minimum of 4% increase. So that is the proposal and opportunity for residents to comment on this, and just a reminder that there's no action at this time on that. Any questions?
Thank you, Janine. Any questions at this point? Okay. As mentioned, this is a public hearing on this item. There is no action specifically to this at this time. However, if you'd like to address the council on the proposed compensation increase for executive municipal officers, please step to the podium. State your name for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes. If you're online, you can go ahead and raise your hand. If you're on the phone, it's star six to star 9 to raise your hand and star 6 to unmute. It's not intended to be a question and answer period, but if you want to address we'll take down questions and address those after the fact.
So my name is Linda Sanchez, and I was reviewing some of this. Is this the part that is the truth in taxation?
No.
Part? Okay.
So this is related to the executive salaries. That was the presentation we just had from Janine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the only question that I have is I don't see any place that we talked about salary caps. Is there at any time in nursing we reach a salary cap? Us as citizens, we're frugal, and yes, we want to be protected, but at some point, just like every other profession, there is a salary cap, and I haven't heard anybody talk about a salary cap. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Welcome.
Good afternoon, good evening. Your Honor, Chairman, members of the council. My name is Robert Hunter. I live at 5103 Sunset Ridge in Ogden. Most of you know that I'm the former city manager of Ogden. I was the last city manager before they changed the form of government to full-time mayor. During that time, I spend a lot of time with the employees. In fact, it fell on me to choose a new police chief while I was here and also to choose a new fire chief. And in the process, I rode with every police officer on his or her shift. And I slept with the firefighters, went out on calls with them, and it was very easy for me to see how hard they work. I worked with all the other employees in the city too, and they were equally involved in doing the right things for our city. Over the years, since I left that position, I've also worked with many other city employees, new ones, and the work ethic continues. We're talking about salary and executive salary increases. You're also talking about in the truth and taxation section about a tax increase. I know that that's a very hard decision. From time to time, we have to face that costs go up, needs go up. People have special needs, and I think we also need to consider the condition of the citizens. I happen to be one of those citizens who is supposed to be retired. I'm still working full time, but my only other income is Social Security. I used up all of my retirement on medical issues for my wife before she passed away. Those things hit us hard. Nevertheless, I think it's important for our local government, who gives us so many services, I'm talking the city and the county, that when you need to consider a tax increase, I want you to know that I think that you consider those things carefully, and I trust your judgment, and I just want you to know that. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Hello, my name is Richard Bergner. I live at 2345 Monroe Boulevard. I would have to be against any tax increases because you guys are already overtaxing me $50,000. And I have the proof here to prove it. It's a little disappointing that one road you'll tear up 6 times and fix it. Other roads you won't fix at all, like from 26th to 30th on Monroe. You won't fix H Street. So until there's actual fixes for other areas of our roads and to help out, I'd rather see extra firefighters, extra police, instead of pay increases for you guys. And that's all I'd have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Anybody else? Oh, we have a hand online on this item.
Hi, Heath Sato, Ogden resident. I just wanted to say that I do believe that we need to pay our employees competitively, especially since I believe a majority of them don't live in Ogden and live in some cities that might have a higher cost of living around us. But I am concerned about especially people on fixed incomes paying higher taxes, and there needs to be a point where we go, okay, we need to look at other ways to pay for these salaries. If we think we need these higher salaries, maybe we have too many people employed by the city. Maybe we're doing something that could be done more efficiently, and I hope those efficiencies are being looked at carefully and considered carefully. I haven't heard a lot of discussion about anything of that sort during the work sessions, so maybe that's happening outside of that, but I would like to see a little more open discussion about what we might be doing to save money. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Teresa Bramwell, I came in late, but I'm assuming this is about tax increases.
It's not. It's actually about the proposed compensation increase for executive municipal officers.
Okay. I'm not opposed to that if it is to bring their compensation equal to what they would be paid in the private sector or perhaps another city. What I think, though, instead of tax increases that could be effective is good use of our land. We have a finite amount of land in Ogden. It's been already built out mostly. And I know there's a lot of it right now that is not being used at its highest and best use and could be bringing in a lot more taxes. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments on this item? If not, I'd have a motion to close the public hearing on this item.
Chair, I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Heyer, second by Councilmember Chaburka to close the public hearing on this item. This is a voice vote. All in favor? Aye. Okay. All right. Okay. So as mentioned, there's no action on this item at this time, but later on in the meeting we'll be considering that. Next up, we have a public hearing on the 2024-2025 budget, and we have 3 items that we will hear presentations on, and then take public hearing before considering action on those 3 plus the one we just had. So first up, we'll hear from our Executive Director of the Council, Janine Eller-Smith, on goals and guidelines of the budget. Oh, and you know what? I'm so sorry, Janine. We did not address any of the questions.
I wondered if you were going to ask me to do that.
And I don't know why, if I just my brain, sorry about that, brain lapse there. Do you want to wait for just a second, or?
I can do it.
Or
We can just.
there's a
switch
couple,
back.
yeah, go
Do you want
ahead.
me to do that now? Or
Yeah, I mean, there was just a couple of questions on the salary caps, the ranges. If we looked at that previous slide, there is a range, so it does show a cap. The bottom and the top, so the current pay range. The right side is the cap, would be the cap. Now, if there are any cost of living adjustments, all ranges adjust according to the cost of living, but that would be the answer to that question. If somebody's at the cap there, that's or the top of the range, that's be considered a cap, correct? And then there was a question, I think, on the property valuation, as far as there is if you feel like your property's valued too high or being taxed at a higher rate, there is a way to appeal that. It's not something done through the city, that's a county item. You can certainly reach out to the county to address that issue. And then as far as, repairs on roads and stuff, that's a if you watch our meetings over the last 4 months, there was a lot of discussion on that, among other things about prioritization. We recognize there are needs and issues, and so yeah, I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that, Janine.
There was just one other question. Mr. Sato asked about whether we have too many people working for the city. And the administration is in the process of hiring a consultant to do a staffing study to determine just that, whether we have enough people or if we have too many in a certain area. That's what that study will do. And it may take a little while to roll that out. They may have to do it in departments because that's a pretty big job, but we are working on that.
That is working. That is in the process.
Chair, may I also just make
Yes.
a comment to the gentleman about the roads on Monroe and H Street? We do have a process if you want to report a particular piece of the road that we need to look at. You can reach out to me directly or to the council administration, but I'd be happy to help you report those streets. Because sometimes we just don't know, that they need to be fixed. So we can find out where they are on the prioritization list too.
Yeah. And so the other item that was brought up, as far as the executive municipal officers, that was a discussion, and you made the point that does not include elected officials as part of this budget season. No elected official will be having any kind of an increase, and that's according, again, with the study that was done. The the numbers were in line as far as where the council and the mayor are with the compensation. So, so yeah. Okay. I think we got it all. Sorry about that. A little bit of a, okay. Yeah, well, anyway. Thank you. So appreciate that, Janine.
Yeah, so budget goals and guidelines. These goals and guidelines are adopted along with the budget, sort of to clarify and highlight the council's expectations for how the budget's implemented during the year. It fits really closely with the financial principles that we adopt prior to the budget to give some direction as the administration is actually putting together their proposed budget. They actually don't change much from year to year because, the city has general goals that they're trying to abide and meet every year. There are a couple of changes for this year, and one is adding a reference to the comprehensive financial sustainability model. The council's actually been asking for this for a period of time. It will be a 5-year strategic plan, a financial plan. This will mean we'll have our financial advisors are going to take a look at all of the revenues and project those out, and then make sure that we have sufficient revenue to projected over the next 5 years to meet those needs. So I just added some language that it's the intent of the council to also use that financial sustainability model with updated general plan that's coming and other key documents to create sort of an updated 5-year strategic plan. The 5-year strategic plan that the council created 5 years ago will be expiring soon, and we'll be completing those. We will be receiving a report on the metrics related to that were established in that plan, so that we can kind of see where we were and where we've come in this past 5 years. We also add some language stating that unexpended salary and benefit funds will be returned to fund balance and be reappropriated for salaries and benefits in the next coming year. In the past, a lot of those additional leftover salaries and benefits money, and those result from terminations or retirements, or anytime there's a position that's not filled for a period of time, that money that was budgeted for those positions just sits in the departmental accounts. And so a lot of times that extra money would then be turned into use for other things that the department needed, justifiably needed, equipment or specific supplies that they might need. And so this is just a change to make sure that those salaries and benefits are used for salaries and benefits as they're intended. Just made one small change. The guidelines in the past have referenced a certified tax rate evaluation by the council. So just look at it and see where we are. We were going to do that you were going to do that every 2 years, but decided, given all of the financial stresses on the city and inflationary costs that hit the city as well, that we will have that as an annual review. That doesn't mean that there will be a proposed tax increase that year, just means that the council will look at it. And then it makes some technical and grammatical changes throughout the document. With the goals, there's just a couple that were really added that are new. One of them is the pay parking system. That's to make sure that, one of the goals is to get some revenue from the downtown, kind of fix the congestion related to parking in the downtown area, and work towards a new training facility for public safety. It may start as fire, it may be shared with fire and police. It's still sort of in the early stages of that planning. And then a 24th City and Image and Reputation, 24th Street interchange. We know that the UDOT is preparing to make the 24th Street interchange a full interchange, so both on and off exits north and south. And that could have a great impact on that West Ogden entryway into the city. It's the only one that comes directly into the city. And so there's a lot of planning and effort that goes in that. And of course, recreation and other things that the council is always focusing on. So those are the changes, and I just leave those with you, and unless you have any questions.
Any questions or comments for Janine on this presentation? Okay, thank you,
Thank
Janine. Up next, we'll hear from Lori Buckley, the Arts Administrator, about the proposed arts grants with this budget. Welcome.
Thanks, Chair Ritchie, and it's good to see you all this evening. And Mayor Nadolski and Mayor, thanks for having me here. I am here to present the fiscal year 25 arts grants recommendations for this year. This year we received 31 applications throughout the community, and upon a rigorous review process and scoring process, it is found that the Arts Advisory Committee is recommending that 27 of those grant applications merit funding. So we have 11 general support applications coming through this year and 16 project support applications. That's 27 moving forward. These are the 11 general support applications. To apply in a general support category, the organization must be a nonprofit and they must be arts-based in their mission. The full amount requested from these 11 suggested applications is $124,000, but we are recommending that $84,000 of funding go to the general support grants this year. And then the following pages, these 2 pages are the project support. There are 16 of those. We did review all of these in more detail in work session, and the information is in your packets. These 16, the full amount requested from these applications was $90,000, and we are recommending that $66,000 in funding go towards these 16 projects. So in total, we have 27 grants being funded for a total of $150,000. That's $84,000 to general support, $66,000 to project support. And the motion that we would like you to consider today is to consider adopting proposed resolution 2024-6 for fiscal year 25 grants. Do you have any questions on the process or any of those recommendations? No? Okay.
Okay, thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
Okay, and then up next we have Glenn Symes, the Deputy Director of the Council Office, to present on the salary schedules and final budget.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Well, before we get started, I just wanted to say a couple of words about the budget itself and the process. But while I do that, we've got this QR code up for folks who are interested in following along with this presentation or just reading over the material for the final budget. You can go ahead and scan that or go to the URL at the bottom, and that will take you to the packet material for this item, and like I said, the presentation slides as well. So as I said, I just want to take a couple of minutes and talk about the budget process this year. For me, this is the 14th budget process that I've been involved in here in Ogden, and that's more than some, and definitely not as many as others. But I think it's enough to say that this budget process was pretty unique. It was a little bit different than the other ones. Our new mayor and former council member, Mayor Nadolski, was tasked with presenting a budget to you that met the needs of the city while also setting out his vision for the future. The council took that budget and reviewed every element of it. You as a council asked tough questions, requested additional information, worked through multiple scenarios and ideas, and had difficult discussions about how the city was going to spend the taxpayers' hard-earned money. We had new council members who asked brilliant questions and who wasted no time in getting into the details of the budget. We also had council members who had been around for a few of these, offer proposals and solutions for the council to consider, and who also led discussions about how problems could be solved. At every turn, the mayor and his staff were available and willing to help the council in its review of the budget. And as such, I just want to publicly thank Mayor Nadolski, Chief Administrative Officer Mara Brown, and all of the department directors, including our chiefs, deputy directors and division managers, our legal staff, our city recorders, and all the administrative staff for their time and responsiveness in helping the council do its job. I would also like to offer a special thank you to a few people. First, our finance staff, of course, and specifically Management Services Director Lisa Stout and Comptroller Justin Sorensen. Lisa and Justin spent countless hours preparing the budget before it was presented to the council, and maybe just as many hours after it was presented to the council, helping everyone understand the budget and providing invaluable information and analysis. So the review of this budget would definitely not be possible without Lisa and Justin. Next, I want to thank Human Resources Manager Heather Brisky, as well as the rest of the HR team. The completion of the compensation study was an enormous task and a critically important one. Heather and her team also worked tirelessly to compile and present this critical information to both the administrative staff and to the council. And last, I want to thank the Ogden City employees for their dedication to the city and for their patience in the review and the vetting of this budget. We're just over a month into the new fiscal year, and they've been waiting patiently to see the details of the compensation study and to find out whether or not its recommendations will be implemented. So thank you to everyone. All right, so we'll get started on the budget. This works. Does this work? There we go. Okay, so as you mentioned, Chair, this is, I'll be covering the final budget and the salary schedule, so the last two items under this agenda item. So, I went too fast. So what I want to cover with this presentation is just a quick review of the tentative budget, a quick review of the council's review of the budget, the certified tax rate and the truth in taxation process, the compensation study, the personnel changes, the changes that are included for the Schedule A1, and then just quickly touch on the salary schedules. So, the council, as was mentioned, it seems like it's been a few minutes, but there have been some major budget steps over the last 3 months, the first of which was the mayor's presentation of his budget to you. That happened the first part of May. On June 11th, you all acting as the RDA and the NBA adopted those budgets on June 11th. And then, of course, on June 18th, a number of things happened, which included the tentative budget, the fee changes, which included the utility rates, the adoption of the capital improvement plan, and the public hearing on the enterprise fund transfers. So just to quickly recap the tentative budget, because that is, this is the budget that the final budget is based on, so the changes that you see at the end with the Schedule A1 are being made to the tentative budget because you adopted that one. There were only a couple of changes to the tentative budget from what was presented to you by the mayor, but you can see here overall, the city budget is anticipated to go up, with the tentative budget at least, just under 5% from what was adopted in 2024. And there are about $30 million in capital improvement projects that are included in that tentative budget. That doesn't include the $86 million for the Canyon Water Line or about $5 million for the TSA holding room expansion. Both of those have funding that's a little bit different than what was included in that budget, but will be underway nonetheless in this next fiscal year. So you had a number of work sessions, so you have mentioned that before already in this meeting. There were 12 work sessions where you all reviewed and discussed the budget over the course of the last 3 months. There was a lot of information that was presented and a lot of information that was discussed. These are just some of the highlights or some of the bigger elements of that. You heard the department directors present their budgets, and this was more than just the dollars and the line items. You also had a chance to talk about some of the successes and the challenges of each of those departments. You talked about the capital projects. This included not only the capital improvement plan, but the 36-inch Canyon Water Line and some funding options for that as well. There was quite a bit of discussion about the proposed transfer from BDO lease revenue to the general fund. This was the $1.8 million that was proposed to you in the initial budget. You also had some discussion about the carry forward. Janine mentioned this with the changes in the goals and guidelines. The carry forward of unused funds for vacancy and turnover, and then the compensation study recommendations, of course, and the certified tax rate. So with this last one on the list there, the certified tax rate, I want to spend a couple of minutes talking about that and really go over what the certified tax rate is, what the truth in taxation process is, and provide some information on what's being proposed with that. So the certified tax rate based on state code, as it reads here, it means a tax rate that will provide the same ad valorem or according to value property revenue for a taxing entity as was budgeted by the taxing entity for the prior year. So in other words, that certified tax rate allows the taxing entity to receive the same property tax revenue from the previous year plus new growth. So there's a budgeted revenue plus new growth. So those are two different numbers, and I'll touch on that in a minute. So because that property tax revenue is the same revenue, but it's based on total valuation, if the total valuation increases, that certified tax rate decreases. And vice versa is true as well. So if the total taxable value decreases, that certified tax rate increases to allow us to collect the same revenue that we did the year before. And you can see that's happened a number of times over the last couple of decades. But in that calculation, there's no CPI adjustment. So anytime we want to change that, we have to do it manually. So I won't go into this chart, but it is a more detailed explanation of how the certified tax rate is calculated. If you want to get into the details, you can go to propertytax.utah.gov and pull this chart up and follow the arrows and see how that calculation is made. Or you can go to the county assessor's page, and there's an explanation for that as well. In either case, the equation that you see there, that's the formula for determining the certified tax rate, and it's budgeted revenue divided by total taxable value, and that's what gives you the certified tax rate. And if we take a look at numbers for Ogden for this year, we've got $19.6 million in budgeted revenue divided by the $9.2 billion in total taxable value, gives our certified tax rate of 0.002127. As I mentioned, the new growth is in addition to that budgeted revenue, so if we put those two together for this year, our total revenue is just over $20 million. The truth in taxation process, the term itself, truth in taxation, is an umbrella term for a set of laws that were passed in 1985 that require certain public notices and certain public hearings when a taxing entity proposes an increase in its property tax revenue. So not the rates. So as I mentioned, if total valuation goes down, that rate goes up, that wouldn't trigger a truth in taxation process. So this is revenue driven. So if we want to increase our revenues over what was budgeted by the county, then we go through this truth in taxation process. So as it's stated here, the truth in taxation is a revenue driven system, not a rate driven system. And Ogden City has gone through this process 4 times. And that was 2016, 17, and 18, and then again a couple of years ago in 2022. And even though we talk about it as being revenue driven, obviously when you change that calculation, you get a different tax rate. So this is a chart of how the tax rate has changed over the last 11 years, plus the proposed for this year. You can see the 3 points on the far left there. That was actually a combined rate, so both the certified tax rate and general obligation bond that was on the books. 2015 was the last year of that. And then the dark line you can see as it dips way down, that was the certified tax rate from the county, excluding that GO bond, since that had dropped off. So you can see how far that dropped. And what the city did that year was essentially propose a certified tax rate as though that GO bond had not come off. And so that 3103 number would have been that certified tax rate that year if that GO bond had remained. And so you see that large increase, that 30% increase. So that's where that came from. Then the next 2 years, in 2017 and 2018, the city chose to hold that rate and maintain that. And you can see again that dark line. That was a certified tax rate that was provided by the county, and the 3103 number is the number that the city held. So no changes in 2019, 2020, or 2021. And again, in 2022, there was a change from the certified tax rate that was provided by the county. No change last year from what was provided. And then this year, the proposal would be to hold that rate from 2023 as was done in 2017 and 2018. So when we look at trying to calculate additional revenue, we looked at a couple of different methodologies to do that. So in the mayor's proposed budget, they chose this first option, which was a specific dollar amount. They were targeting $183,000 to cover some mental health resources for first responders. When all the math was done on that, that equated to a 0.94% rate increase. Another option we looked at was just a 3% CPI increase, since there's nothing built in automatically for that. If you recall, the blended inflation adjustment that got applied to the utility rates this year was 3.18. So we just looked at a flat 3% for that. But that change would equate to an additional $591,400 in revenues over the budgeted amount that was provided by the county. And then the last option, which is what is proposed with your final budget, is maintaining that rate, and that equates to a 5.36% rate increase and would generate an additional $1,053,000 above that revenue provided by the county. So when we look at the impact of this on a residential property and a non-residential property, that $421,000 number, that was a number provided by Weber County as the average assessed residential property in Ogden. So that's what our numbers were based on. And that's what the school district's numbers were based on also, that $421,000 valuation. So if you recall, for residential properties, the taxable value is 55% of that assessed value. For non-residential or commercial properties, it's 100%. So you can see those numbers are different. So you can see kind of that first column with the rate, that 2127 rate. This would be if we just adopted that certified tax rate that was provided by the county. This would be the tax bill, the Ogden portion of the property tax bill on that valuation. So $492.51, $895.47 for a commercial property. With the mayor proposed, that goes up about $4 a year for a residential property, and then the 3% is up about $14 a year, and then maintaining that rate is about $26 a year. And then you can see the corresponding changes with the non-residential properties there. So this was already brought up tonight, but if folks are interested in getting their property reassessed, that is something that happens with the county, so the city doesn't have any control over property valuation. So if people want to appeal that number, they can go through the county. There's a Board of Equalization that handles those. Regular applications for just regular residential properties, those are due by September 15th. And then a county appraiser takes a look, makes an adjustment if it's necessary, and then your bill would change accordingly. So again, this is not a city function, so if people are interested in doing this, you can call the Weber County Assessor's Office or go to the website, and there's more information available there. There's also some tax relief programs available, and again, most of these are administered by the county, by the clerk's office, and these relate to deployed military, disabled veterans, those who are blind. There's a senior tax deferral program, and then the circuit breaker and the tax abatement programs are for lower income folks. The city does offer a utility bill discount based on this county eligibility, and this is something that you all expanded just about a month ago. Any questions before I move on to the next section about the certified tax rate or the truth in taxation process?
So,
Okay.
so Glenn, just maybe if you go back a few slides to the certified tax rate, and we can see over the, was that 11-year history or so?
Yep.
I know a lot of people in the room are thinking, okay, it looks like the percentage is going down, yet my experience is that I've been paying more. So maybe address why that might be the case.
Yeah, and I do have some information in this supplemental information with the slides if you want to grab that. But I did do an analysis of, I just chose 10 random residential properties and 5 random commercial properties through the city, and really looked at what their valuation was last year, what their actual tax bill was, what their valuation was this year, and what it would be through all of those different options. And the valuation change was all over the place. These were 10 completely random properties. There were some as high as 15% change, some that were 3 or 4% change, and actually a couple of them that went down. So again, this is what the county does. It's in their wheelhouse. So it really just depends on what they see and what they feel is a property value.
Yeah.
So that's why people are seeing that. So we talk about that rate, and it's based on a total valuation. So it's that more simple equation where it's revenues divided by total valuations, all of the properties in the city, and that gets the rate, and then that gets turned around and applied to every single property, some of which are assessed much higher, some of which have gone down, and so that's where that discrepancy happens.
Yeah. And I appreciate the analysis you did there, because what was interesting to me on that is, regardless of a tax increase or not, there are those who would still be paying more dollars, even though there's no change, right?
Right.
So that's an interesting thing. Or even with the increase, there are some property owners who will still be paying less out of pocket just based on those valuations. And so that's where it gets challenging is, like, as you mentioned, it is all over the map. We look at this as a collective increase overall, but yet within that pool, it's all over the place.
Yeah.
And over the last few years, I think we've had some work sessions on this, which has discussed the issue of residential properties versus commercial properties and how that adjustment has been probably less fair to residential, in that residential prices or values have increased much quicker rate than commercial properties. And so there is somewhat of a tax shift or a burden shift in that thing, which is something that the city doesn't control. Right? We're just left with, these are the rules and this is how we operate. So, yeah.
And I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to make a personal comment about the appeals process too. A couple years ago, we did a kind of big construction project at my house, and so last year, actually, I was a little sticker shocked when I got my tax valuation. I was a little overwhelmed by the increase, and I think that was due to them knowing the permits that were happening on my property, and then maybe reevaluating when they did a regular evaluation. So I actually did do an appeal process, and part of what they do in that case is they'll have different properties in the same area and compare it to those. And I was able to actually get that bill decreased based on that process. So really, if you feel that your property has really gone out of whack a little bit, I urge you to try the appeals process, because I certainly want to pay my fair share to support the services that all the entities that we get taxes or give taxes to offer. But at that time, it was a little overwhelming, and so I just did that appeal process, and it worked. And so I definitely encourage people to pursue that.
Yeah, thank you. And the work session that you had mentioned was with John Bond, the Weber County Treasurer, and that happened on March 21st, 2023 here, so you can go back and find the information on that. If you do pull up these slides electronically, there's a link to that work session, so you can just click right on that and listen to that discussion, because it is a good one.
Thank you, Glenn. Any other questions or comments on that? Okay. All right. Moving on.
Okay. Okay, so Janine touched on the compensation study and some of the other changes, so we won't go into a ton of detail here. There were a number of work sessions in July where all of these numbers and all this information was reviewed in detail. But these are the recommendations from the study that are included in the final budget. So it does include the salary ranges and the pay grades for the upcoming fiscal year. Janine mentioned that bring to minimum, if positions were below that market minimum, they would be brought to the minimum or the closest step for the public safety, and then up to a 4% merit increase for general employees who didn't receive at least a 4% with that bring to minimum, and then step increases on anniversary dates for the sworn fire and police who are eligible, and then the recommended title changes. And Janine touched on the executive officers, but there are a number of those throughout the city that changed as well, that were not those officers. In the proposed budget, there are 16 new positions included. So a majority of those are in the general fund, and most of those are in public services. So if this gets adopted, Justin Anderson will have some new faces to get to know. But there is a new police officer, some 4 new AEMT/EMTs, and then a couple of people in management services. So with those 16, go ahead.
Yeah, and if you mention on the police officer, that's a joint effort, correct?
Yes.
If you can just address that briefly.
Yeah, so most of the cost of that will be reimbursed because it is an agreement with Ogden Prep.
Ogden
Prep, yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, so we won't be paying the full cost of that. So with those 16, if they're approved, that would bring the grand total full-time employees in Ogden to 697. And with the final budget, as I mentioned, this is based on the tentative budget. With the final budget, you would be approving the certified tax rate as proposed, which would be the 0.002239 or the 5.36% increase. You would be approving the staffing documents, and those are based on the compensation study, and those include the new positions and the updated job titles. The budget goals and guidelines, as Janine reviewed, and then changes in the final Schedule A1. And those changes include these here. So the compensation study implementation throughout. So if you look at the actual Schedule A1 document, you'll see lots of adjustments throughout all the departments. There was an estimate put in the original budget that was proposed to you. Once the compensation study was done and we knew the final numbers, this change adjusts those to the actuals compared to what was estimated in the beginning. There was an additional $85,000 needed for the general fund, but all of the enterprise funds and internal service funds, those are essentially self-balancing with use of fund balance. So the $1.8 million in BDO lease revenue that I mentioned, the council had a lot of discussions about that, and the proposal is actually to remove that $1.8 million transfer, so those funds would remain in retained earnings for the BDO Property Management Enterprise Fund. There's a carry forward of $909,000 from unused salary funds from last year that would be carried over into this fiscal year. And then an additional $870,000 from the property tax increase. And the reason that's $870,000 is that full 5.36% was $1,053,000. The $183,000 was already programmed into the budget from the mayor's proposal. So that's the difference between those two. And then because the positions don't start July 1st, since we've already passed July 1st, there's a reduction of about $106,000 in delaying the implementation of those new positions. There's an additional $400,000 that is going to be made available through the help loan for water and sewer laterals. Those repairs and the help loans for those, and those are from the water and sewer enterprise funds. And then the Schedule A1 also includes recognizing state and federal grants that we know the amounts to now that they can be recognized in the budget. So the general fund change, it's a total reduction of about $20,000. Overall, the city budget would increase about $2.1 million, and that's a combination of the BDO lease revenue coming out as well as the grants being recognized. So. With the salary schedules, so that is another agenda item that you would consider. As Janine mentioned, this would cover salary ranges for elected officials. There's no proposed increase for elected officials in this budget. The non-merit special employees, which included what Janine had presented, the merit employees or the general employees, and then the steps for the police and the fire employees. So that's all I've got. Oh, I did want to mention there is an amendment that is proposed with the assistant division director range. That was just a correction that needed to be made, and we sent some motion language to you for that to correct that. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that I can. If I can't, hopefully I can recruit somebody who can answer those questions. As I mentioned, there's a lot of supplemental information in here that I hadn't planned on going through, but if you would like me to address something in particular, I'd be happy to pull that up.
Any questions or anything specific council members would like to ask at this time?
I have a simple one, Glenn.
What's up?
So we talked about any unused salary money will go back into an account to be held for future salaries. And so that 106,000, because we're starting in August, not July, will that just go back in? Will that 106,000 go back into that account?
I think it just won't be added.
Added? Okay.
Yeah, so if you look at that, the $85,000 additional that was needed for the full implementation of the compensation plan, plus that reduction, it was only a difference of about $20,000 between those two.
And so if I understand correctly, if we have a position that we anticipate starts September 1, but doesn't actually get filled till December 1, those months of unused salary would carry forward to next year's budget that we could use for salaries and wages for the next year.
And that's the change that was made. Yeah, proposed with the budget goals and guidelines.
Thanks.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments at this point?
Just left here.
Okay, so that was a lot, and appreciate that a very thorough review. And as thorough as it was, there was a lot to that. And as you mentioned, we've had a number of meetings to discuss on this. So at this point in time, it is a public hearing. So we invite those who are here to address the council on those three items: the goals and guidelines, the arts grants, as well as the final budget and salary schedules overall. If you'd like to address the council, please come to the podium. Thank you. Come to the podium and state your name and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Again, it's not intended to be a question and answer period. We'll try and take down questions and remember to answer those questions at the end of the public hearing before moving on for any action.
I'm back again. I had a new thought. My name's Robert Hunter, 5103 Sunset Ridge here in Ogden. I've already talked about my respect for the employees, and so I won't repeat that. But in terms of the arts budget, I have a line I'd like to quote, and it's this. If of life's goods thou art bereft, and to thee but 2 loaves are left, sell one, and with the dole buy hyacinth to feed thy soul. I respect Ogden City, this community, for the way they promote the arts and execute the artistic aspirations of the people here. So thank you for that. The other thing I wanted to say, the thought that came to me after I sat down was this, and I think Mr. Symes did an excellent job of talking about the various categories of tax relief. And Council Member Choburka talked about how she was able to do that because, and the reason she was able to do that is because she's involved in community activities and she understands what that process is. There are many people out there who don't know about that process. And so I'd like to propose 2 things. One of them I can be responsible for, the other one you're responsible for, and it is this. Try to do a better job of informing our citizens about those opportunities they have. None of us want to see people who struggle, and there are people out there who struggle, but there is relief in place. Government has put processes in place for them to take advantage of that. And so in communications through the water bill and in other means, you have social media, and there's the local newspaper and other media that can send that information out and help those people. Now that's the assignment I'm giving to you. I'm old enough I can talk that way. The assignment I'm giving to myself is, you all know that I work with all of the nonprofits in the community. And in the nonprofit arena, we work with a lot of people who do struggle. And so we'll try to do a better job of letting them know what those processes are as well. So I think together we can help a lot of people. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Good evening, Teresa Bramwell. I wanted to get up and support the arts. I saw a concert here last week in Ogden, and I had never been to the Ogden Amphitheater before to see a concert, and I thought it was a lot of fun. I saw Big Bad Voodoo Daddy that was presented by Onstage Ogden, and before the concert there was, I don't know if this was like officially part of the concert or if it was just some dudes that showed up, but there were some there was a dance teacher there, and he was teaching some swing dancing. So I got to get up and dance with some boys during the concert, and that was a lot of fun. And I'm not sure if Onstage Ogden was one of the participants in the grant money from Ogden City, but I know they did mention that they were part of the ramp tax program. And I definitely support the arts. I think the arts contribute to the quality of life for everybody. And also, I wanted to let people know how they can appeal their property taxes. You need to find a realtor because what that will require is 3 comparables that sold right around the time of January 1st. If you want to appeal your property taxes, and if you feel like your property is overvalued. You probably wouldn't do it if you thought your property was undervalued, but if you think it's overvalued, call a realtor, tell them to find you 3 comparables that sold around the 1st of January that are similar to your home or commercial property, and present those before the 15th of September. And you should be able to have those reassessed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Linda Sanchez. So during this, the time that we're going through elections, I've met a lot of people. And I'm just confused because I was talking to an assessor who said, the people are being taken advantage of. And then by a senator, he confirmed, because I wasn't for sure if I was hearing correctly, it was confirmed by a senator. And it said that according to the state law, when property values go up, the tax levy must go down. Now, we've all seen our property taxes skyrocket. Have we seen any of the taxes or the levy go down? I haven't seen anything. They were saying that the cities and counties are raising taxes, and yet the tax levies have not been going down. Now, there are ways to get around this. One is to have a truth in taxation meeting or a hearing, and then for the public to agree to it. We, the people, agree to being taxed. And they have to be okay with the increase. Then the special benefit, there's a special benefits component, which is taken on by certain companies, per se, like the water. You're not necessarily directly being taxed by the city or county. It is by the benefit. You're receiving a benefit. Not that you're getting any more benefit, but you're just paying more for your benefit, which I feel like we're seeing. So I'm just kind of confused when I was reading the slides. That's not exactly, and maybe I'm not understanding it correctly, that's not exactly what I see being portrayed. It seems like we're having a truth in taxation, everything's transparent. But when I heard that and when I see this, it makes me think, what is going on? Who would ever say, yes, I want to be taxed more or pay more for the same benefit? So as elected officials, I need you guys to help protect us, because we don't always know the law, and I know that you guys don't either. So I started researching, and I had questions, which I still am reading, because there's a lot. When you start getting into legislative code, it's a lot. What I need to have happen is I have to stay within my means. What I need you guys to do is stay within your means. If that means if I have a child and I don't have enough for a babysitter, I find other ways. If
Like the Oscars.
I just feel like we, the people, when you guys come to us saying we need more money, it shouldn't be like another handout, like, because we keep giving and giving and giving, and when is enough enough?
Thank you, Linda. Thank you. We have a hand online. We'll go to the hand online, and we're not done in the room. If anyone still wants to come up, they certainly can.
Hi, my name's Michelle Tanner. Sorry I couldn't be there in person. I just want to address my comments to the council, the mayor, and the administrative officer, and I represent Ogden Friends of Acoustic Music, OFOM. I just want to say thank you so much for keeping Ogden vibrant in the arts. You know, you can't walk around without seeing the evidence of our beautiful art community everywhere we go. And I hear people who move here saying they're so impressed with the art scene here in Ogden. And I'm just proud to be part of it. We as an organization, we do the Ogden Music Festival. We have a Dia de los Muertos in Ogden coming up October 12th at the Ogden Amphitheater. And we have an instrument lending library and free music lessons for kids who may not have access to that. Art is important. Our youth are our future, and kids that are involved in art do better in all their walks of life. And I just want to say thank you. And then also, to change hats, I'm a recently retired flight nurse from Intermountain Life Flight, and I just want to say I love the support that is coming down the line with first responders, and we need to support them emotionally and financially and I think it's great that we're recognizing that so to help them deal with the trauma that they deal with every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Okay, anybody else in the room would like to share anything or any additional public comment here? Or online? Can't tell, Brandon, if there's. Oh, okay. Thank you.
Chair, seeing no more movement, or there is a hand on mine, isn't there? Okay, never mind.
Response from firefighters?
Did you make a motion? I'm sorry.
I didn't. It looked like there was a hand that showed up.
Oh, okay.
No?
Nope.
Okay. Then I will make a motion that we close the public hearing on these items.
And I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Heyer and a second by Councilmember Graff to close the public hearing on these items. This is a voice vote. All in favor? Aye. Okay, that passes. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the comments. I think there was one question regarding the tax levy, and if we were to look at the, I don't know if we can pull up the last 11-year chart. What you would see there is that the levy, the tax rate was over 3%. We'll get here. Give it a second. And over time, that rate has come down. And so that was the question. Is I know that many people would look at that and say, I see the rate that's being assessed as a tax rate has come down, but yet my own experience is that I'm paying more dollars, right? That's the question is, so you can see in 2013, the tax rate was 3.4%, and it has been consistently or steadily been dropping. And, but yet our experience is that I may be paying more dollars, and that all has to do with valuations. Valuations are increasing, and as a result, yeah, if the rate goes up, the amount that the city receives should be the same dollar number. So it's a lower percentage of the overall value as that increases. And I think there was a mention that 4 times we saw rates go up instead. I'm trying to remember now as far as the tax levy, but from here we can see that that's just been a steady decline in that area. So it is a little bit kind of hard to get the head wrapped around that idea, but overall the Ogden City valuation has steadily been increasing, and as a result, the percentage of what you're paying taxes on is decreasing, percentage of the value. So that would be a true statement, right?
And I have another comment. I'm sorry, I'm talking
Yes,
so
please,
much tonight,
please.
But I did bring my little notice of value because I like to look at this when I'm thinking about this. And I think they did a really good job. The Weber County sends this out, and it has information from taxes last year, 2023, and then with no budget increase for 2024, and then whatever we did do last year, and then what the proposed changes are. So it kind of has this comparison. And for me, since my value didn't change from that year to this year, if we didn't do this proposed 5.27% adjustment, my tax rate would go down about $41. Actually, my payment would go down about $41 this year. But since we're keeping it the same and paying the same amount for Ogden City, I'm just commenting on Ogden City. So it just depends on the valuation, as you're saying, and then, you know, it's not really an increase. If we had paid the same last year, we're going to pay the same this year.
The other thing that I think is also good to look at, and I don't know, Glenn, if you want to talk about this, but we hear property taxes, truth in taxation, tax rates are going up, but the overall tax percentage that goes to Ogden City compared to other taxing entities, and Glenn, maybe you can address that. I don't know if you have a slide or anything on that one, but maybe Chair or Council Member Traverka can hold up her pie chart.
It's about 18% for Ogden City.
Yeah, I do have a slide for that. Let me see if I can get
All
that.
right, very good.
It might take us a second. Maybe I'll do
Of
this.
your overall tax bill, yeah.
Yeah, I've got the same thing.
I know. I thought they did a great job this year. I don't think they've done it like that in the past.
See if I can find a slide number. I apologize for the delay.
While you're doing that, the school district is getting 56% of the total bill.
Ogden School District.
Yeah,
if you
Ogden
live in
School
Ogden.
District,
Yeah.
Weber County, it's
Let's
17%.
see, slide 41.
Our city is 18%, and others, which is mosquito abatement, some of those kind of things, are 9%.
Yeah, so this is with the two other entities that are proposing an increase. So these would be if all of those rates as advertised would be adopted. You can see, yeah, Ogden City is just under 18% of the total, with Ogden School District at just under 56%.
Okay. Thank you.
That was a long time to answer something that Councilmember Chaburka already answered.
Sorry.
Pie chart,
yeah.
I gotta hold up my
Just
little
hold up the
chart.
pie chart there, yeah. But it is interesting to see for sure. So thank you on that.
Yeah.
Any other discussion or comments among the council on this?
Chair, I'd kind of like to just give a perspective, I guess, as a council member. You know, one of the things that we all share is our residency in Ogden. So we all get this same tax assessment. And so we are tasked with making sure that our city is healthy, that we provide the appropriate services for the residents, that we're not wasting money, that we're not frittering it away somehow. And as Glenn mentioned, this year in particular, we had a new mayor that when he came and made his proposed budget in the May, it was different than we'd had it in the past, and it caused we as council members to really roll up our sleeves. We all did, as did the administration. I mean, we took a really deep dive to make sure that we were with the information that we had available. We're making our compensation appropriate for the employees. The employee compensation is the lion's share of what we spend money on in the city. And if we don't pay them enough, they go to other municipalities, they leave, they go to another job. It's not worth it for them to work, so they quit. And we are left without those services being provided. If we pay them too much, then we have higher taxes, and so it's a balancing act that we all have to kind of weigh out. But whatever we do to you, we're doing to ourselves. So we're not likely to just do it just to hurt people. When I get comments from some of the people that call me or come to my door and say, "Hey, you guys, you rotten guys, you're taxing me like crazy," I think there's a sense that we're like the federal government, we can print dollars to alleviate some of those things, but we don't have those abilities. We have to pay people with tax dollars, sales tax dollars, whatever it might be, and so we try to be as conscientious and as careful as we can be. The comments that Chair Ritchie was talking about with the county and the assessment, you know, they do the assessment. We don't do the assessment. If you need a relief from assessment, you got to see those guys. It won't do any good to see us. So it's just who does what. I think it might sound like we're doing the political sidestep, but in reality we're just trying to inform people as to what, you know, where they get the relief from and how it all happens. That's just a perspective that I have. I hope it is. Hope you can recognize my sincerity that we're really trying to do our best. And I know that the good hearts of the people that I work with there, they're all doing this too. And I got to salute everybody that's been working on this budget process this year, particularly our new council members who have done a stellar job on their first budget. So anyway.
Thank you for sharing that, Councilmember Heyer. Any other council members want to share their perspective on things or other thoughts? Councilmember Myers?
Thank you.
Thank you.
This has been my first year in reviewing the Ogden City budget, and it's been enlightening. We've been working on this for 7, 8 months now. We've had many presentations that have been done to us, given to us as a city council, and to sit and to listen to directors and chiefs come to present their budget and their needs to us. We certainly can see the need for some of what's taking place in Ogden City and what our hopes are for the future. And their presentations have been very compelling and needful. It was also quite impactful to see the compensation study that was done, and that's been presented on several different occasions in work sessions and here as well, to see that our employees are behind what the average is for employees that are of their caliber and of their station. And I think what Councilman Heyer just stated is one of the compelling reasons why we've gone ahead to seek to maintain that tax levy the way that it's at, is so that we can take care of our employees and make sure that we bring some stability in the services that are offered to our city without having too much regeneration or having to go out to find new employees to replace employees that are leaving. So, you know, personally, I just want to recognize our firefighters that are here today. They had a great 150-year celebration yesterday at their facility at the Frankham Public Safety Building. They're just a small part, but an important part of the entire city process. So to me, it is not without a great deal of thought and consideration and a lot of work. We've been working on the budget for a long time. I recognize our city administrative staff and also the council staff and the council members themselves. It's been eye-opening to me to see the quality of people, and we want to continue where we're at and as much as we can be better. So for that reason, that's where we're at today, my friends that are here, and I just present that to you that we're trying to do what's best for the city. It's been a collaborative effort. And I am so impressed with the way that this has worked out. It's taken a long time, longer than what I would have liked. But I think we're in a really good place right now. And just want to share that with you. Those are my personal feelings as a council member after going through this entire process of working through the budget. And just want to say thanks to all those who've had a part in it and express to the public how important it is, this process of presentation and transparency and working through the budget. It's been eye-opening to me, and it's been a rejuvenating process. And my trust, I have great trust in the leaders of the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Myers. How about on this side of the rostrum? Comments, thoughts? What's that? No? Councilmember Blair?
Want me to go? I'll go. I have a whole lot, a whole bunch.
You wait till after.
Like was mentioned earlier, I think this was a very unique budget. I'm not sure if anyone up here's been through as many as I have, so good for me. Yeah. This is all things that I've said throughout this budget process, so nothing new. I just put it all together so I could say it at one time. I think we had some major wins, in my opinion, major wins throughout this budget process. And I just listed a couple that I'll share tonight. I think the fact that and these are in no particular rank or order, I just some thoughts I wrote down, but the fact that we recognized unused salary dollars and that we addressed that, and then that we used that finding to create a new policy to keep that money and to continue to use that money for what it was intended for. I believe that sends the right message that we want to be able to always put our employees first. We always want to make sure that we have money for our employees, and so those monies that are used for our employees should always be there for the employees. I think through no fault of anyone, I think we'd kind of gotten backwards a little bit. I think we'd kind of had that money available, and so we used it for needs, for different department needs, because that money was available. And then which was great that there was money available so that we could get the things that each department needed. But then it seemed like towards the end or towards the budget process, we were scrambling or trying to find ways to come up with money for employees. And I don't think that's the right way to do this. I think we as a city need to reshift our focus and put that money available so there's always money available for our employees. And then when there's needs and when there's things that come up, that we reevaluate or look and try to find money to take care of those things, but don't take money from our employees or take money that was dedicated to employees. So I'm happy that we've recognized that. I'm happy that we've created a new policy. I'm super proud that administration is willing to work with us on that and to stick to that. So I appreciate that partnership and that this new idea moving forward. In my opinion, I think it's a huge win that we didn't have to take the 1.8 million from BDO this year. I've said all along, I think we're going to have to be creative, or we're going to have to be better at finding ways to come up with money. And I don't know what that looks like. I don't know if that is through BDO or not, but I'm glad that we're able to have at least another year to look through that and work through that and try to find out what works out best for everyone involved, both sides. So to me, again, that's just me. I believe that's a huge win. I think it's great that we were able to implement the McGrath study. I think it was great that we were able to see where our employees are, where they rank, where they stack up against other employees at other municipalities, and see how we can do that better or be more comparable to them. Again, this is just me, but I think we as a city need to reevaluate how we do that also. We go through these processes and they're great. They're great that we're able to reevaluate and to put our employees where we feel like they should be. But the problem with that is the data is already old by the time we get it and get it implemented. And I believe that we need to find a way to just move a little bit ahead of that curve so that we have a cushion, so that we're not constantly hovering right above that line of we're comparable, now we're not, now we're below average, comparable, now we're below average. I'd like to see us work towards getting a little bit above that, whatever that may be. I'm glad that we have another year to work through that, because I think everyone up here, I think everyone in this city believes that our employees are our number one asset. And I just feel like there needs to be a shift in how we value and how we look to compensate our employees. I think we always talk about putting employees first, and I think that starts with how we set aside funds for them and make sure that there's funds available to compensate them. So I'm really proud that we went through the McGrath study. I'm really proud that we were able to make improvements to our employees that is much needed, but I don't think it solves all of our problems. I don't think it's the end of all of our problems, but I think it allows us an opportunity to address some flaws in the way we handle it, and hopefully once we recognize those errors or those problems, we can move forward and find ways to combat that. As Janine mentioned earlier, the comprehensive financial sustainability model, we know that came from Marcia because it's got a long name.
Not my name.
Yeah, ending in model. But as was mentioned earlier, we've been asking for that, and I believe that's going to help us as a city move forward with our goals and what we want to accomplish and how we want to be able to fund things moving forward. So I'm excited to be able to work towards that. I have one other request. This is just me. I think it's great that we were able to add some new employees this year. I don't think it's ever been done in the past. Maybe it has. Maybe I just missed it. But I would love the opportunity to maybe next year before the budget get a report on how effective those new employees were, what they were able to or what we were able to accomplish with those new hires. Just to make sure that there's accountability and making sure that we're actually spending our money where we need to spend our money and putting our money where we should put our money. So those are my highs and lows of this year's budget. I appreciate all the phone calls and the meetings and the talks with other council members and other people throughout the city to make sure that we had, or that we adopted a great budget for our city and that we're able to do the things that we want to do. So I appreciate, as was mentioned, I thought Councilmember Myers and Councilmember Graff really caught up quickly. They did a great job. They were inquisitive. They were open-minded. They were they were determined to learn what needed to be learned. And I appreciate the collaboration that we had as council members, but also with the administration and our finance department. I thought they were stellar this year, so I appreciate that a lot. That's it.
Thanks, Councilmember Blair. What's that?
I was just going to follow up with a couple.
Oh, yeah, go follow up with it, sure.
So I want to, because a lot was said already between Councilmember Heyer and Myers and Councilmember Blair, but I just wanted to follow up by saying this was one of the hardest budget processes that I have ever been through in my tenure. But it was one of the most rewarding, because what we did is we collectively, the council, mayor, administrative staff, put the employees first.
Council staff, don't forget the council staff.
Sorry, staff. Sorry, thank you. And when you have something hard but know where you want to fix it, it's much easier to get there. And it was the most rewarding collective conversations, hard questions, hard spreadsheets to look at. And I hope that you all feel that we did it in a very transparent way. Most of everything that you heard in a work session is everything that was out there. We had really hard conversations a lot of times within those work sessions. And I want people to understand that, again, hard things happen, but good outcomes happen because we knew that the employees were our number one asset. So we started off with that premise, and I think we've ended up with a really good budget. To the point where I believe that we should not use the BDO lease revenue to fund new salaries. I felt like that we needed to have the BDO lease revenue fund capital improvement projects and economic development projects. And so holding steadfast to that, thank you for listening to me over and over saying that. I think I said that a lot of times. I also want to say that I'm really looking forward to the staffing study. There are probably departments out there that need more staffing, and there might be departments out there that don't. And I'm just, I'm excited to see how that looks and what that looks like. And then lastly, thank you for mentioning the comprehensive, or the 5-year financial plan. I don't know that everyone, I have been harping on that for a long time, but I don't know that everybody has fully embraced that quite yet. But as we go forward, we need to be very innovative and understanding of what our budget is today and what our revenues are today, as much as we have and need 5 years from now. And so we need to know when an RDA might go off and retire. We need to know if sales tax is flat. We need to know and how to figure that out so that every year we're not just in such a panic of where are we going to get this money, where are we going to get this money. So I really am looking forward to that. I do want to say that thank you to the administration, the staff, Lisa and her crew, Justin, giving us those spreadsheets, to Glenn and Janine giving us all the information that we needed, because we asked questions right and left. And I want to say that what we did, and it may just feel different because it's going to be harder for the departments to budget next year, because what they took money that they may have not had in unexpended vacancies. I can't remember, you called it something very eloquent, but vacancies, and they used that money at the end of the year to buy supplies or buy the things that they needed for their departments. Now they're going to have to think about, how am I going to budget for next year? And it's going to take more work, but I think it's going to be a more transparent process for everyone. And I really appreciate that, that change in thinking, and that's going to be difficult. I know that. I've not been through a budget process on this end, but I'm sure that it's going to be difficult. So we've got another couple of years of learning, but thank you very much for all that you guys have done. So I just
Thank you,
wanted to
Vice
follow
Chair
up.
White. Appreciate that. Any other comments?
on that.
Tag team on that? Okay, Councilmember Graff.
I'll keep it brief, and at the risk of not rethanking those that deserve to be thanked, everybody that's been thanked, I thank. The one that hasn't been thanked are the senior members of the City Council. For me as a new person, I learned a lot. And I was exposed to a lot of new things. And those of you that have served on this council and staff that serve in support of this council always answered phone calls, were patient with dumb questions, provided insightful coaching and support in my gaining understanding around what the budget was all about. And then that includes administration and department directors. So I thank everybody for supporting me in being the best city council I could be as a new person here.
Thank you.
I was just teasing a little bit about senior council members. Was that by age or service?
No, it's
or
tenure.
title?
Yeah,
Tenure.
Anyway, no, I think both the newer council members did a great job. I think you sparked some new thinking for me too, so that's always great to have new perspectives on the council too. And I'll just ditto everything you all said. Thanks to everyone.
Thank you. Okay, just a couple quick comments, and then we've got some action items to consider here. I am sensitive to the advice that we need to live within our means. And I do believe that wholeheartedly. I live that in my own personal life. One of the underlying themes that we heard from the department directors across the board is that, number one, we have the hardest working or the heaviest workload in the state in number of calls and that they have to respond to. And so I would say we've been living within our means, but almost to the extent to where we're really working people really hard and potentially facing some burnout type challenges. And I'm sensitive to that. I think we need to recognize that we've come a long way. And Councilmember Blair can attest to this, that when he started in the council, some of the discussions were quite different than what we're talking about now. We've made a lot of progress as a city to be on financial ground that's stable, that's secure. This last year, we've gone out for bonds and been able to receive the highest ratings available on bonds, which saves the city millions of dollars over the life of those bonds. Maybe million, I would say, yeah. Laura Lewis could give us an exact number. But we also have to be forward-looking, and that's where some of these changes, the efficiencies of maybe using those unused salaries for the future has been a way to maybe be a little bit more efficient. But also looking forward to, we have a lot of major challenges ahead. We've got a wonder block that's underway. We have the Union Station, that we've got a lot of things on our plate as a city. We have a water line that's going to be replaced, and so none of these go away. But yet, positioning the city so that we can address those challenges safely and without putting any of the priorities in jeopardy, I think is extremely important. And so the process was rigorous. It wasn't always fun from the chair's perspective, knowing that there may be some concerns and challenges, and it's not a comfortable conversation to have. But as Vice Chair White pointed out, I believe we've come to a really good budget, and I feel comfortable with that. And it was all hands on deck to get there. So I'll reserve any additional comments for later, but that was what I wanted to share. Okay, so we have the first item, action item, is the proposed resolution 2024-7, approving the goals and guidelines for the fiscal year 2024-25 budget.
Chair, I will make a motion that we adopt proposed resolution 2024-7.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Blair, second by Councilmember Burka to adopt proposed resolution 2024-7. This is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Blair?
Aye.
Councilmember Chaburka?
Aye.
Councilmember Graff?
Aye.
Councilmember Heyer?
Aye.
Councilmember Myers?
Aye.
Vice Chair White?
Aye.
Chair Ritchie?
Aye, and that passes. Next up, we have the proposed resolution 2024-6, awarding of arts grants for the fiscal year 2024-25.
Chair, I'll propose that we adopt proposed resolution 2024-6.
Seconded.
We have a motion by Councilmember Chaburka and a second by Councilmember Myers to adopt proposed resolution 2024-6. This is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Chaburka?
Aye.
Councilmember Graff?
Aye.
Councilmember Heyer?
Aye.
Councilmember Myers?
Aye.
Councilmember Blair?
Aye.
Vice Chair White?
Aye.
Chair Ritchie?
Aye, and that passes. This next item, there is specific motion language to amend some corrections. So for the proposed ordinance 2024-21.
Chair, I move that we approve ordinance 2024-21, adopting the salary schedules with the following correction. Amend the salary range for Assistant Division Director range number ADD 165 from $80,687.57 through $121,000, 31 and 36 cents to 79,952.81 through 115,931.57.
Okay.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Councilmember Graff with the amendment as stated, with a second by Councilmember Myers. This is also a roll call vote.
Councilmember Graff?
Aye.
Councilmember Heyer?
Aye.
Councilmember Myers?
Aye.
Councilmember Blair?
Aye.
Councilmember Chaburka?
Aye.
Vice Chair White?
Aye.
Chair Ritchie?
Aye. And that passes. And finally, we have the proposed ordinance 2024-2022. Oh, sorry.
22.
Did I?
No, it's 22.
So proposed ordinance 2024-22.
Chair, I'd make the motion we adopt proposed ordinance 2024-22.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Heyer and a second by Councilmember Blair to adopt proposed ordinance 2024-2020. Oh my gosh. 22. This is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Heyer?
Aye.
Councilmember Myers?
Aye.
Councilmember Blair?
Aye.
Councilmember Chaburka?
Aye.
Councilmember Graff?
Aye.
Vice Chair White?
Aye.
Chair Ritchie?
Aye. And that passes. Okay. With that, we are now at the public comment section of the meeting. So this is an opportunity to address the council on any item. Please step to the podium and state your name and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Thank you for those who are with us that are departing. Thank you for being here. Welcome back.
Linda Sanchez. With that being said, since you guys did pass a lot of that, I do believe that the men and women of the fire department do definitely need some help. I've seen that, you've seen that. You can't unsee what you've seen. Sometimes you wish you could. With that also being the sworn police, I really hope that we do some de-escalation, just so that sometimes they know what professional is, or that there is some boundaries or limits. People sometimes don't call because they're afraid that things may escalate in a situation that shouldn't be. I'm going to quote, "Hard times create strong men," or let's say person, whoever wants to be offended by that. "Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. Weak men create hard times." Remember, we need to learn from our history. Keep that in mind, because sometimes we have money, sometimes we don't. I've gone through this. There's been times I didn't have a house. Not all the way, but close enough that I didn't want to get any further. I do have to say, sometimes I identify as an overtaxed, underrepresented, non-woke, pissed off American. It's the whole process, right? I've got to tell you how I'm feeling. With that being said, I did want to comment at the work session. Fernando, you put him on the spot. Man, for putting him on the spot, I thought, holy cow, he did so good. So if you'll reach out and tell him kudos. The American flag is my flag. I will not apologize for it. It does not stand for skin color, race, or religion, or sexual orientation. It stands for freedom. So when I hear you guys in the diversity, I'm glad you guys are talking about that, because when we say things unintentionally, we divide people. We should not be doing that. It was my understanding also, as the high density, that was supposed to help the taxpayers with the tax burdens. I haven't heard much about that. So we've had so much high density. Where is that helping in the tax burden? Okay, that was a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. We have a hand online. If we can go to Peter Bealey.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Excellent. I first want to say the gentleman on my right, the council member there, said that like our Ogden City employees are our highest priority. And I think that is a statement that I wish to challenge. And I wish to challenge by first appealing to the economic concept that government does not generate any wealth. Government simply extracts wealth, perhaps parasitically, perhaps benevolently, from its citizens. And it's the citizens who I think need to replace the central character in this congressman's head. And we need to consider the citizens' pocketbook. And the way a city council would conduct itself if the citizens' pocketbook were at the center place would be to say, maybe we can parcel out some services that the city is doing with city employees to instead to private entities, and to see if if the market can come down. There is all this, I tell you, I shed no tears for these long-winded praises of city employees. If city employees are unsatisfied, then they can go to the private sector. And absolutely, there is a responsibility. I think it's probably a good idea to have a city police force, but I could be wrong on that. But I think I don't understand why we have much more city functions that are performed by private entities, given especially the backseat that government economically must recognize that it has, because it generates no wealth. Governments are parasitic in nature. And I do not like to hear about taking care of the parasitic cartel. I'd like to hear about taking care of the cartel that's actually, of the segment of the population that's actually generating wealth. Wealth generation is performed by service to others and self-sacrifice. And the government does not do these, does not generate wealth. I think that's all the time I have. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Peter. Any other comments? Welcome.
Hi, I'm Steve Jones, Ogden City resident. Just simply wanted to thank you for all the hard work that everyone has done on the budget. It gave me a little bit of a break. If you look back 4 or 5 months ago, I was up here almost every week talking about Union Station. And I realized that, the new administration had to get their feet on the ground, the budget had to be in place, and then you could start accomplishing things that needed to be accomplished. So please expect that I will be back here on a more regular basis. One of the other things that I'd like to do is invite every one of you to join us at our in-person work sessions for the Save Union Station group. They essentially were put in hiatus while we were in this kind of waiting state. Within the next, I'm going to say 3 weeks or so, we're going to resume those meetings. I will send out an invitation to let everyone know when they are. Most likely, they're going to be at the new 2-Bit Street Bistro. And typically, they've been Friday afternoons at about 5:30. So certainly, I want to give you a pre-invitation to join us with that. I'm going to give you an assignment also, just in anticipation of that happening. There's a huge amount of information out on the Save Union Station Facebook page. A lot of it is just our 2,000 plus members have been looking at what works in other places, where there might be lessons learned for where we could do things similar here rather than reinventing the wheel. So go out there and explore. It will take a while, but there's some, if you just look at first blush, why does it apply to Union Station? Well, it applies to Union Station because other people have had similar situations. They've solved those problems and they've been very, very successful. The other thing that I'd suggest you each look at is about a year ago, we did a session, did a series of posts on what this group was recommending for Union Station. And then we went to each of the mayoral candidates and asked them to comment on those recommendations. Well, only one of those candidates moves forward, Mayor Nadolski. He spent a huge amount of time looking at what the Save Union Station group was recommending, and he put some very thoughtful comments on the site. So I think one of the first tasks we're all going to have to do is go back and look at that information now in this new context, look at what needs tweaked, and then see if we can take those ideas and move it forward with actions. Because we spent, now it's a year and a half at least in this group talking about what we think should be happening at Union Station.
Thank you, Steve.
Now we have to make it happen.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Is this microphone adequate? Or do I need to move
Just pull it down.
Okay. Great. My
There
name
we
is
go.
Emily. And boy, if this budget process wasn't exciting enough, we've got Code Ogden and Zone Ogden coming up. Are you guys just having too much fun with all this? Wow. So that's big. It's exciting. I mean, there's a lot to be done. So I just wanted to tell you a little story. Imagine a family moves to Ogden and they buy this house that is, let's just say, a hodgepodge. Okay, so it's got some vinyl siding, some aluminum siding, it's different colors, it's kind of like really out there, like what happened here? But there's a vision, right? And so then when the opportunity to renovate the exterior comes, they look at the options, and you can imagine there's a huge financial difference in some of the exterior
possibilities, right? With the siding or stucco or hardy board and all these things. And, you know, they want it to look nice, but they don't have, you know, unlimited funds. So they put together a plan and then realize that because of the zoning, there's only about 3 options. And they all happen to be the expensive options. You know, they're not the lower tier of exterior products available on the market. And so that really could be disheartening to a family that wanted to do that. And so what are the options? You know, maybe go in debt. And, you know, and when the city code demands these exterior products, if going in debt is not an option, then the other option is not doing it. And so that is something I think that will be exciting to reconsider when looking at the code for Ogden City. So I'm excited for that. Thanks.
Thanks, Emily. Any other comments? Okay, thank you for being here and for sharing those comments. Let's see, any questions we want to address here or from administration on? I think there was a question on how high density is helping or potentially helping, right? I don't know if anybody wants to address that issue. I mean,
Would that be like in the growth amount? Because if there was nothing there before and then there's something that has developed, then that would be in our growth number, I think. I'm not an expert, but I think that's right.
yeah, so we did have some new growth, but as those properties come online, they're going to add value and then they'll be part of the taxing value. It's sort of a two-edged sword because those bring residents, which also require services. So there's going to be there should be added revenues, but there are going to be some added expenses. But
it should help with sales tax because hopefully if those people are purchasing things locally, or even if they're shopping online, hopefully we're getting the taxes off the sales, you know.
For sure. And yes, we have many opportunities for the Make Ogden, the Zone Ogden, the Plan Ogden, all those to have our voices heard. So, yeah. Comments for Mayor.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Just a couple things that I wrote down that, thanks for recognizing Fernando. He's a really good dude, and I will pass along your compliments. And as it relates to your comments about the flag, I hope you enjoyed the flag that hung over Washington Boulevard. I felt the exact same thing that you communicated whenever I drove past it and beneath it. To me, it signaled unity. It's something that we should all agree on. It made me really proud of our community and our country when I drove beneath it, and I need to feel that way more often. So I look forward to having that flag back again. That was really special. I do want to push back on the comments about a parasitic cartel, and I want to offer a different paradigm. And it's actually a paradigm that was reflected in Peter's comments. I've met with Peter myself. We've had really good conversations about a number of things. But Peter, you said service to others and self-sacrifice are a pathway to enrichment, and I agree. Those are values that I live by, values that I presented in my first day in office when inaugurated, and they're values that our staff live by as well. And I want to offer an alternative that our staff are our priority because they are a reflection of our people, and they are the people that serve the citizens of the city. And I would love to be at a place where we can recognize the selfless service and sacrifice that they provide each day. Granted, there's a paycheck, I get that. But I also have experienced personally, and I want to share with everybody that selfless sacrifice is real. It's more than a paycheck, it's more than a job. It's a way of life for these guys. They give a lot of themselves for others. And that's what draws them to this work. And so I don't want to be calling them anything other than they are, which are I've experienced in this job. And so I'll ask that when we take care of our staff like you did, I appreciate you doing that because you're taking care of the people who take care of our people. Our people outside this building took care of the people inside this building for taking care of them. Does that make sense? That's the paradigm I offer, and I urge others to share. We are a community, and the people that we serve matter a lot, and so are the people that are serving them. This budget was no spa package. There's no doubt about it. Definitely the hardest budget cycle I've ever been through. This would be my 9th. First as mayor, having done 8 in your seat, this was way harder. I'm not sure if I should be proud or not. You guys all said this was the hardest on your end ever. Didn't mean to make it hard on you, but I do believe that the best things come through struggle. And this was absolutely a struggle. I didn't get everything I asked for or wanted, and I don't think that's the point or the goal. I think this is this budget is absolutely a compromise budget, but what we didn't compromise was taking care of our people who take care of our people. That, if it accomplishes nothing else, is really a win to me and for them. So thank you for that. Thank you for seeing them for who they are. I agree this has been the most collaborative budget process I've ever been a part of, so thank you for recognizing it. Glenn Symes, thank you for recognizing the staff the way that you did. You are a class act to and through your core. I already told you that. I know that Janine handed a lot of this off to you this year, and you did an amazing job. You have a lot of respect from the administrative staff. To the council staff as a whole, thank you for all the work that you did. It is hard to have 7 bosses. I know how hard that must be. To the council members, thank you for having an open mind and a constructive mindset. You didn't just say no, but you did say no, but at times. You asked really hard questions. You required a lot of our staff and of me. I don't mind working hard. Hard times make hard men or what we need more of, right? So thank you for making it hard because it made it good. To the team of people that worked on the staff, from the staff that worked on the budget, Mara, this was the first big lift that we ever did together, and I asked a lot of you, and you asked a lot of me, and I feel like we grew a lot closer through this process. So thanks for always standing for me and with me. Couldn't have done it without you. I can't do anything I do without you. To Lisa and the team and the HR staff, Justin, Heather, Lisa, everybody, you guys, there were times where you asked hard questions of us that went right back to them. They worked nights and weekends continuously. There were times where we said, we don't have that analysis. And I remember one time specifically, Ken said, can you do it? And they went to work that night and had it for you the next day. There were not days off for them most of the budget cycle. So thank you for the sacrifices you made in your personal time. That's the work that the people we took care of are doing for the people. They want to get it right, and they did. To the department directors that were scrutinized, and you stood for your teams. You stood up for the needs of the team. Thank you for doing that. I want to also share another paradigm. We are not a city that is brand new. We know this. It's a lot easier and a lot cheaper to build a city the way maybe an Eagle Mountain is building out. They've got space, they build out. They put new infrastructure in, it's provided for by developers. They have impact fees that we don't have. They have brand new infrastructure as a result. That comes with a lot less maintenance, a lot less burden. Their day is coming, just like ours is here right now. We are of the few legacy cities in the state that is rebuilding. And it is a hell of a lot harder and a lot more expensive to rebuild a city than it is to build a city. We've been through the build. We are in the rebuild. We're one of the first cities, maybe the first city in the state that's going through this rebuild cycle. It hurts right now. It really does. The day will come where the rest of Utah is in their rebuild and we are not. And we will have every competitive advantage that they don't have, and we will kick their butts. Ooh, I almost had a bad one there. Well, I was close. But we are going to pound them into submission when that day comes, because we are going to have every advantage on them. But it comes with expense. It comes with burdens. We've got CIP projects, development projects that are backlogged and burdensome on our staff. There's only so much that we can squeeze out of an individual before they break. There's only so many calls on the medical side that we can put on our medical staff. There's only so many calls that our officers can run. There's only so many CIPs and infrastructure projects that these three can do. Then ask to get on top of the burden of the backlog for projects that need to be finished to pay for the bills in the future. So the time will come that we're going to have to keep working the way that we have to find the resource to provide the services that we need. I feel with the work that we've done in this budget, I made my budget proposal. Y'all passed your budget for final, and today we have our budget. So thank you for all of the work that you did. I know it's thankless, and I know it hurt, but I also know it's going to work. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor. I think we saw the football player come out for a minute in that. So
It was close there. I was like, whoa, I about got Lyman on that one. I did tear my coat. Fat kid move for sure.
okay. Any additional comments from council members?
I do.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Not to defend myself, but to defend the employees. I would argue, tell them red in the face or up and down or whatever time limit you want to do, that our employees don't generate revenue. I would gladly argue that. And I would argue the other side, that if we treat our employees with a turnstile mentality that they can go whenever they want, or we don't want them, or we can replace them, I would guarantee that wouldn't only not generate money, but it would cost us a lot of money as a city. So I find great value, and like I said, my highest priority is to take care of our employees. Every one of us up here, every one of us made promises to citizens when we campaigned, whether it was last summer, 4 years ago, 8 years ago, 14 years ago. All of us have made promises. And I have spent a lot of time with most of the people up here, and I've yet to see Marcia sweep a street. I've yet to see Angela provide safety, public safety. I've yet to see any one of us pick up trash. We make promises, and then we rely on each and every one of you to help us fulfill those promises. So I appreciate all of your efforts, because those aren't your promises that you're fulfilling. They're our promises, and I recognize that. So I appreciate you working to make us look better, and I feel it's our role to support you in those efforts. So I absolutely don't agree that our citizens or that our employees don't generate revenue. Our employees, I think, generate a lot more than revenue. They create a strong and wonderful and vibrant community that in turn helps everyone, lifts everyone. So I do appreciate everything that you all do, not only for us, but for each and every one of our citizens. So thank you. On a lighter, or on a more serious note, I just wanted to thank, it's been a couple weeks, and I don't know why I didn't say this, but I had the opportunity to go meet the artists that were in town for the Marshall White Center. that was so exciting. It was so exciting. They have great plans. They have great desire to do what our community wants. And it was so neat to be able to sit down with them and talk about that. So I applaud the administration and our arts committee team that's working with them to find great artists that understand the Marshall White story, that understand our story and want to share that story and create a wonderful Marshall White Center. And then I have one other item, and this has been a couple weeks too. I was at an event a couple weeks ago, and somebody came up to me, and we were talking about something else, probably golf. And someone interrupted and said, "Hey, I just wanted to give you a quick shout out." He said, "We've had a couple meetings with Mara Brown, and she has been nothing but spectacular in every one of those meetings. And I will probably be here a long time and never hear Mara ever say that she's never take credit for anything. So I want to be the one to give her some credit. It's wonderful to have you representing our city. Those are proud moments when somebody comes up and thanks you for the work that you do. So thank you." That's all I've got.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Just one. 6 months. You get to start all over again.
Didn't we start like 2 years ago? That's how it feels.
Amen.
Thank you. Oh,
One thing I
more
didn't
comment?
mention, if it's okay, next Tuesday night, Night Out Against Crime, West Ogden Park on 24th Street, 5:30 to 7:30. Let's take the night off from this and invest a night in them and go support our police department and our community. They put a lot of work into that.
You'll be fascinated to watch the dog come after the mayor.
Yeah. I am fleet of foot. I doubt he'll catch me.
Yeah. Let's see how the football player does in that regard.
I can't wait to video that one.
Yeah.
Hey, I can move for a big
So
man.
before we adjourn, I just want to also mention, just thank the employees and thank the city. I think that's been one of the cooler things I've learned as a council member is we just expect things to happen when you live in a city, that the water's going to turn on when you hit the faucet, and that when it snows, you're going to be able to drive on safe roads. And we just expect all these things to be there. If there's a problem, that the police are going to show up, or the firefighters are going to be there to fight our fires. And so it is, in a lot of ways, a thankless job in the city. And we have amazing people. And as I mentioned, I know they are some of the hardest working public servants in the state. And so I do believe that as a council, we're committed to trying to help alleviate any burdens and provide a good opportunity for them as well. So with that, I'd take a motion to adjourn.
Chair, could I maybe just do one more thing first?
Yes, please.
This isn't the ceremonial part of our meeting, but since we do have our staff that worked so hard, would it be okay if we?
Yes, please. Yes. If you would please stand and let us, thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Heyer. We have
Second.
Move to adjourn by Councilmember Myers, second by Councilmember Heyer. Voice vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. See you next week at the Night Out Against Crime, and in 2 weeks back here. Chambers.